Happy Halloween, everybody. Sorry about that. Just putting out a quick text to my co-host. If anybody out there can find Don Mayo for me, please let him know he's a minute late for this week's On Bourbon Street with MH3 and hopefully Don Mayo. And wearing my Blue Jays garb today to signify the end of a very interesting and exciting 2020 baseball season. But let's start with Halloween, first of all. I'm sure you are having the same conversations that many people are. Pull up the Reese's there for me about Halloween. Is it canceled? What can happen? You know, it's an interesting time of year, right? You think of all the mental health challenges that people are going through and not being able to socialize and do the same sort of things they do with their friends. And for kids, you know, Halloween potentially being canceled is such a shame, right? It's that one time a year when they can dress up as a superhero. It's that one time a year that they can go to a stranger's door or to a neighbor's door and demand something, trick or treat. It's that one time a year where they are actually in charge, and us as parents and adults, we are actually there to serve. So it's pretty excited this morning on my jog into work, seeing kids getting dressed up, going out for Halloween at their school. We've started a school here at T1 called Park Street, and a couple of our teachers this morning actually drove around to our kids' houses because they're learning online and dropped pumpkins and carving kits, and want to take you through a couple of the interesting marketing activations that we've seen going on. How about Reese's remote control robotic door, where literally you can, through social media, have this show up in your neighborhood. It literally goes down the street, as you see by the picture there, and safely dispensing, Halloween candy. Mars was one of the first ones out in the marketplace with their Treat Town program. And this entire approach from Wrigley Mars was to demonstrate, actually create an online town, if you can show that. And
first, make sure you're signed in with your Candy Giver profile, have created your door, and placed it on the map, so trick-or-treaters can virtually visit your door. Please note, when first placing the door, it may take some time to appear. You get to decide who visits your door. Just tap the main menu, then tap Buy and Manage Candy, then tap Trick-or-Treat Settings. Your door is private by default, which means only your family and friends network can trick-or-treat at your door. Turning Open for Public on will allow anyone signed up for Treat Town to trick-or-treat at your virtual door. Your door will be visible on the map and identified by your username to anyone within your friends and family network. To give out candy, you need to purchase virtual candy credits first. It's easy. Just tap the menu icon top left, then tap Buy and Manage Candy, and tap Buy Candy Credits. Finally, choose the dollar value of the candy credits you want and check out.
I love that. Apparently, they've had over 100,000 people sign up for that. Mars Wrigley did a nice time with Boys and Girls Clubs of America to donate money. They did put out CDC-approved safe Halloweening tips. They tied in with Disney and some of their other assets, where you could actually go on virtual tours of Disney and haunted houses. So kudos to Mars. And I think what's interesting for me about these different Halloween programs that are happening is how we are learning how to activate, how to build marketing campaigns, how to take these things that are so important, these milestones, these holidays, and make them come to life. So let's go over to the UK now and have a look at what Samsung did with a 300-year-old house. so that's pretty cool what they did with a 300-year-old house. Used to actually, at one point, monks lived there. It's the old Stevenage property. But, just an amazing utilization of their technologies. And, you think about having the ultimate, I was going to say man cave, but that's incorrect, but person cave. Just kind of a very cool execution. Burger King is one of my favorite marketers, and they are constantly, sort of taunting the competition in clever ways, sometimes tongue-in-cheek, other times not so tongue-in-cheek. So let's go inside the bathrooms of some Burger Kings in Denmark to see how they're poking fun at McDonald's this Halloween.
Cancel, clown, cancel, clown, cancel, clown.
So very subtle, very interesting. They executed this in Denmark and Sweden, and if you didn't catch it there, I encourage you to go online and have a look-see at how, basically, if you think about it, backstory is in Europe, Ronald McDonald was taken off kind of the marketing for McDonald's in certain markets, and Burger King's having that creepy clown come back for you in some bathroom mirrors. So lots of fun things going on from a Halloween standpoint. Heinz, like many brands, and we've been talking lots about TikTok. So despite the fact that the U.S. administration's talked about canceling TikTok, TikTok continues to explode. Let me digress for a second. I know I'm talking about Halloween today, but if you've followed Dogface since his Ocean Spray video on his skateboard and, Fleetwood Mac song and Dreams, I can't believe this guy's in Vegas. He's hanging out with Snoop Dogg. He's having birthday parties. I'm pretty sure he's not working at his potato factory anymore, sacking potatoes. But so everyone's jumping to TikTok. Heinz has done a really cool Halloween challenge, and they have picked up over 1.7 billion views already. They've got influencers, the Richards family, and others doing this. So let's have a quick look at how Heinz, being blood red, has jumped into Halloween. Now, I've never worked with Heinz, so this isn't meant remotely to be a criticism. But if you think about Heinz, you're talking about a pretty staid, traditional company. And I don't know whether it's a new form of marketing or, being inspired by seeing what's connecting on platforms like TikTok. And soon you're going to see people jumping to things like Triller. But for me, it just gets really exciting to see how a brand can kind of break out of its mold, get its hands and dirty, no pun intended, get its brand bloody, no pun intended. One of the things that they actually did to seed that program was they actually created about 600 limited edition bottles of blood red Heinz that kind of glow in the dark, and using special technology, seeded those out with influencers, seeded them out there with people who have massive TikTok followings, and made it come to life. And it's not just costumes for Halloween. I mean, Nike, let's have a look. Nike's created some pretty cool kicks. You can see these limited edition Halloween spider web shoes. And if you're a morning show nut and you love Kelly and Ryan, and you're a big Joe Exotic fan, I mean, this has got to be, I think Kelly Ripa has hit the nail on the head for winning best Halloween costume in my mind. She's not wearing Nikes, but she's got her Joe Exotic costume on today. Look at that. That's Kelly Ripa, believe it or not. Amazing. So Halloween is not canceled. But as we know, COVID is taking the piss out of a lot of our lives. Last week we had Jane Noonan from the Dora Keogh come on and talk about how her bar is suffering endlessly. You know, she's made the point that while the patios have been great, with all the new restrictions, it's potential that she's going to have to close her pub down. There are thousands and thousands of small businesses across this country. And as good as our Canadian government has done a job at tackling this, and as good as we've done as a society respecting each other by and large, there have been some challenges. Let's start with some basics. This week, there was a horrible murder in Scarborough in an LCBO parking lot. Absolutely horrible. Apparently 2 20-something-year-olds were arguing over social distancing. And one had a gun. Now, as a parent, I can't possibly imagine my kid going to get beer and minutes later being gunned down in the parking lot over social distancing. That's what happened. Two of them, a 21-year-old and a 20-year-old, arguing about social distancing. We have to figure out how to test, how to trace, how to communicate, but also we have to understand that the mental health, and that's an extreme case. I'm not at all letting this person away with anything to say that COVID caused him to become a murderer. But that's how bad it's getting. You know, Jane Noonan from the Dora Keogh made a great point on our broadcast. She said, so we've now closed a bar where there are regulations. Where to get in, you have to wear a mask. Where to walk from your table to the restroom, you need to wear a mask. You can only sit in small groups. You can't hover over one another. Now all those people are going to go home, and who knows how they are operating and hosting people in their houses. Gyms in Quebec have started to threaten that they are going to defy government orders because they're looking for facts. We've got these kind of blanket facts that people are getting sick because they're at a gym. I don't want to sound like I'm defying orders, but at my fitness club, our gyms are closed. I'm a squash addict. Do you know our squash courts aren't closed? And I don't want them to be closed, but that's kind of a weird thing. And yes, I wear what looks like a welder's mask on the squash court. And we can only be 6 feet apart, so we play this weird game of halvesies or front and back. But it seems arbitrary. It seems like we don't have the data. And candidly, to our governments, you've had 6-7 months to figure this out, to get testing, to get tracing, to figure out the right math. It seems so random right now. And you are killing small businesses. That person that owns the bar, the person that owns a shoe shine place in the Path or in an office tower in a major metropolitan city, the subsidies are not enough. They are losing their businesses. They are losing their livelihood. This week on the radio, I heard Good Life imploring all their members to write the government. Mental health is at stake. Fitness is at stake. How many times do you check in with somebody on Zoom and they talk about, I put the COVID-19 on, the fridge is there, I'm not getting up and walking around, I'm not going out for that sandwich. We need human connection. And it's starting to boil over. Hey, Don, how are you?
Sorry, I'm very late.
No worries. I'm going to keep going here and you can jump on board. Just talking about, Don, COVID in society, where things are going. And I'm actually going to tee up a video that I saw where in Chilliwack, BC, it's gotten ridiculous with kids soccer. Don, let's have a look at this, and then I'm going to ask you for your thoughts.
This soccer field is supposed to bring kids together, but last weekend, a group of parents cast a dark shadow over the game.
I was appalled, and I know the rest of the executive is appalled.
A near-violent altercation when an enraged parent lashed out.
It all came to a head when one of our contact tracers, who was treated very poorly at a venue, was basically verbally assaulted and ignored, went home in tears.
The incident just the latest at this field as frustrations mount over limited seating and other safety measures. The club issued a letter to parents saying the abuse and poor behavior has to stop. A security guard has been hired to keep parents in line.
But unfortunately, we're bound by the policies by the health office, and I think they just saw an opportunity to take it out on somebody, and unfortunately, they took it out on that poor lady.
So that's where we're getting to right now, Don. Go ahead.
Reality is pretty simple. That we just need to wash our hands, social distance, and wear masks. And the fact that people won't do that, we need to make sure that the fine or the fines out there, and I'm not a fine person, but the fact is stupidity is causing us to go into a second, third, fourth, fifth wave or whenever until we have a vaccine. So something like that makes absolutely no sense. I'm not sure, as I've been late, obviously, if you talked about the person in the parking lot of the LCBO who was shot because of supposed social distancing issues. The stress on humanity right now is so great that if we don't use common sense and kindness, it's only going to get worse. So the fact is, it's ridiculous that people won't do just the fundamentals. And it's happening in Chilliwack. I can't imagine what's going to happen in south of us in the next month or so.
Yeah, or next week. So let's park Tuesday for a second, and let's go back to, you and I were talking earlier this week about gyms. In Quebec, hundreds of gyms are now threatening to ignore the boycott. We as Canadians, we are not boycott's the wrong term, ignore the bylaws. We are not disobedient people. But I want to ask you, as a business owner, instead of say you owned IMI, let's assume you owned 2 gyms or a bar or a sushi place. If it was put to you, would you open up illegally right now?
It would depend on what the fine is, but the fact is, if a group of people together, if I could be with 200 of my brethren all opening gyms, absolutely, that would definitely tell a statement. I was watching a news channel last night. They put some graph up, and I think it's 3% of people, or 3% of the transmissions came from gyms. In Peel region, which they've shut down, there's not one contact tracing from a restaurant. Yet they shut everyone. There's no surgical movement. So what I would open up in a heartbeat and I'd hopefully lead the charge if we were not the cause of it. I got a buddy of mine who was supposed to be on. He might be on in the next week or two, who does own 3 gyms.
Right.
He trains with 6 people in the entire gym. Doesn't matter if there's 6 or 600. He was closed without question. And the fact is, he's been around, I think, 19 years. I don't think he's gonna be back. Right. And just because we can't use common sense, the Chilliwack's decision, and we just arbitrarily cancel everything. I mean, schools are the reason that 20%, I think it was around 20% of the cases, we're not closing schools.
We're not closing schools.
We're closing restaurants. We're closing people's livelihoods. We're closing the trickle down. Forget about the bar owners or us as entrepreneurs. How about all the other people that are feeding children, their wives, kids, whatever, off working there? I mean, it's insanity what's going on as far as not allowing common sense to dictate, both from a personal standpoint, but also from a political standpoint or from a government standpoint.
And we've hit a point where I think all of us need to start to talk to our politicians. They've had 6-7 months to figure these things out. They're going the wrong direction. To your point, you and I shared some data last night. I've heard everywhere from, say, 8% to 22% to as high as 39% for the cases from restaurants and bars. Let's just use the worst case scenario. Let's pretend it's 39%. Why are we shutting that down, Don, versus the 61%?
Because it's easy. And the fact is, they don't get personally impacted by it. That's, I believe. I think it's the closer you are to it. The governments, the Ontario government runs the schools. So there's direct relationship there. The Ontario government does not run a bar or restaurant or entrepreneurial shop anywhere. So they have no skin in the game, except some people want. As you said, talk to politicians. I guess it's the only way that we're going to get there. I've never done it before, but yeah, I'd be willing to actually inundate them with no different than Christy Harrell with talking to politicians. Like, what's the worst going to happen? They're saying anyway.
The stupidity of not being able to play 6-on-6 beach volleyball boggles my mind. And I'm I'm not suggesting that we should go Michigan on our government, show up at the legislature with AK-47s and threaten to kidnap the governor. But I'm personally feeling like we are not, the people are not being listened to, and we're sticking to some core stats. So there is some hope on the horizon. There's an interesting test now happening in the Calgary airport. Eric, I'm just going to get you to play this video, tell the story, then Don, let's talk a little bit about the rollout of this program.
But a new pilot project in Alberta holds some promise to fill the empty airport. Beginning in November, international passengers will have the option of taking a voluntary COVID test on arrival at Calgary's airport.
And that has the potential to reduce the quarantine period from the mandatory 14 days down to as few as 2.
Once a passenger tests negative, they can leave isolation, provided they agree to a second test in a week and follow guidelines.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. Okay, that was my question.
Sign me up in a second. The fact is, you make the fine punitive if they don't get that 7-day test. That's pretty simple. There's private labs now opening that you can get COVID tests on demand. I saw one for $150. Well, the fact is, if that's the cost for people to travel and not have to be quarantined for 14 days so they can't see their parents or whatever it might be, that's the cost. I mean, it's private enterprise. It makes sense. Sign me up. Like, let's get that to Toronto. I'm hoping this works out really, really well, because it's the first exciting news I've heard about freedom. I don't know where the hell I'm going to go, but the fact is, just that option to do something, it would be fantastic. And it makes common sense. And we really are understanding now how uncommon common sense is.
We need it. One of our producers, James, is in Barbados now. He and his fiance moved there. 0 COVID cases there. It'll rub it in, James. Just like, oh, you got sun, you got beach, you got no COVID. Screw off, pal. But here's one of the reasons I think that people are not playing common sense. It's not just politicians. This week during the World Series, we had an unbelievably flagrant display. Eric, show this video. It tells the story better than I do, and then Don and I can rant a little bit about. Go, Eric.
When Justin Turner was pulled prior to the start of the 8th inning in last night's Game 6, no one understood why. Immediately after the game, Fox Sports broke the news that Turner had a positive test result for COVID-19, and word was sent to the Dodger dugout to place him in isolation. But after the game was over, Turner returned to the field to celebrate, hugging teammates and taking pictures, sometimes without a mask on. On Wednesday, Major League Baseball released a statement saying Turner refused to comply with MLB security, who told him not to go on the field. The statement said, quote, "While a desire to celebrate is understandable, Turner's decision to leave isolation and enter the field was wrong and put everyone he came in contact with at risk." The statement said the commissioner's office has launched a full investigation. After the game last night, Dodgers President Andrew Friedman did not seem overly concerned about the behavior or the optics.
Having a mask on and staying socially distanced, he wanted to come out and take a picture with the trophy, which, can't state strongly enough how big of a role he's played in the success of this organization. But I think for him, just being a free agent, not knowing exactly how the future is going to play out, I don't think there was anyone that was going to stop him from going out.
To put human life for other people, especially with the millions watching, at risk, chances are no one's going to die, but chances are there could be third-party trickle, is ridiculous. The selfishness of the action in that moment, if he didn't do it, it would have been one of the greatest stories there were, that he missed something. Instead of that being selfish with the kiss, obviously they're together anyway, but the president backing them up, there better be a massive fine against that, because I don't know how you'd live with yourself if you did get someone sick that eventually did pass away.
Who cares if they live together? He's got COVID. I'm not kissing my wife if I have COVID.
That's because she doesn't want you to, but
and because I didn't make 35 million or less for years. I mean, the president of the Dodgers, Dr. Friedman, or Andrew Friedman, he's no fucking doctor. Oh, the guy worked hard. He should be able to sell. It's a baseball game. 200,000 people have died in America. 500,000 people are going to die. He can take the trophy, get a replica, and go home. It makes me sick. Can we move on? Let's go for some good news. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, a young hero from Manchester United. Throw the video, because Don, I know you love this guy.
Taking matters into their own hands. Kicked off with some inspiration from footballer Marcus Rashford, the Newton Deli on Merseyside will be offering free meals for local children during the half-term holiday, as will a rapidly growing number of cafes and restaurants around the country.
So we've got a choice of a bacon sandwich, sausage sandwich or an egg sandwich. We've got a range of fresh fruit. We've got drinks, snacks and treats for the children as well, just to ensure that nobody goes hungry during the holidays. It's not fair that anyone should need to go hungry. The government have had the opportunity to put things right. They've had the chance this week to do something about it. They chose not to. So now we feel we have to.
Dozens of businesses and local councils across England have tweeted their plans to help. Among them a cafe in Falmouth, a County Durham bakery, a curry house in Leeds, and a cab company in Liverpool is offering free lifts to food banks. The message from all of them: no child should go hungry. If the government won't help, we will. Visiting a food charity warehouse in Manchester with his mum, Marcus Rashford has been honoured with an MBE for his work helping families in need, but has also faced criticism.
It's so insensitive about the issue, and they've definitely not been through it themselves. So for me, it's, I'll take that all day long, as long as we start to see improvements going forward for the people that.
All I can say is that's called good parenting. The fact is, 22-year-old football star does what's right, goes at the politicians, goes to companies, uses celebrity to get companies together, is embarrassing people but doing the right thing. I don't know how anyone could be against this ever. Kudos. I mean, hopefully this is a global example of using common sense, using celebrity, using corporation to do what's right and actually solve an issue that unfortunately I think is only going to get worse over the next year.
Boris Johnson's government in the UK just turned down an opposition motion to keep the in-school feeding meal programs going through to Easter. And Rashford has been told by people to shut up and play. This is a 22-year-old single mom. They lived on public housing. They lived on social welfare. The guy scored his first Premier League game. He had a hat trick this week. He's being, I just want to finish today's episode by reading a tweet that he put out this week. Put aside all the noise, the digs, the party politics, and let's focus on the reality, he posted to his millions of Twitter followers. A significant number of children are going to bed tonight not only hungry, but feeling like they do not matter because of the comments that have been made today. Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.